All right, coding culture. So, I mean, you've been here now the last 2 or 3 days hearing about awesome technical stuff. You probably heard about microservices, and maybe you go back now to your team and say, hey, we have to split up our monolith and do split it up in microservices. And that's what we do day in, day out. We're discussing our technical challenges that we have. We talk about our product, how can we improve that, and stuff like that. And then bringing that actually to the team and go to conferences and hear all the new stuff and maybe want to implement it, or maybe you should use a SQL database, maybe a NoSQL database. All this discussion happens. And it's pretty important. But what we sometimes tend to forget is to talk about how we want to do stuff together. What are our values? What are our higher visions that we have? So we tend to forget to talk about our culture. But I think actually culture, organization culture, team culture, engineering culture, that's a very important thing, a very, very important thing that we have to discuss more. But first, I want to give you a warning here. So you might think, Sven, all the stuff that you're going to tell us today, that's profane. We all know this. Yeah, I mean, we know we have to do stuff like this. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's profane. Maybe it's obvious stuff. But sometimes it's good to be reminded what's really important for us as a team or organization. And I would talk about things like be transparent. And on the other hand, respect each other. And these things go hand in hand. I mean, if you're transparent but just ranting on each other, that's not good. That's not a good culture. So these things that I'm going to talk about today go actually hand in hand. And then we'll talk a little bit about stuff that we do at Atlassian, so that you can get some impression how some culture can look like, some engineering culture. So I'll give you some examples here. So let's start. What is culture? What is culture? I mean, like every speaker, you have to think about when you start your talk, how do I explain what culture is? And like every speaker, I did the same thing. So I went to Wikipedia and looked up organizational culture. And Wikipedia, there's an article, and you read it, and it says, organizational culture is about our values, our vision, our norms, our systems, our symbols, our language, our assumptions, beliefs, habits. You name it. I mean, really. And you read this long article, maybe it takes you 5–10 minutes, and afterwards you think about, so what is culture about? You don't know. It's this fluffy thing. You can't really touch it. I mean, it's like this here. What is that? Is that a hamster, a rabbit, a guinea pig? I have no clue. So sorry for that. First try to explain you what culture is. I failed. Sorry for that. So I give you a second. Give me a second try here. A culture that actually makes developers happy. So what makes developers happy? Let's have a look at that. Beer on tap. Yay, we love that. Just after work, just get some beer. Great, awesome, great culture. Or here, ping pong and free food. Great. Just do a break, play some ping pong, grab some food, grab some water. Great. Or shooting around with Nerf guns. That's fun. Yeah, engineers like that. So, but said that is, this has nothing to do with culture. I mean, you can have all these things, but still have a really, really bad culture. Have stressful. So this is the typical Silicon Valley great culture. We have beer on tap, but actually this has nothing to do with the culture at all. So sorry, second try to explain you what culture is. I failed again. So give me a third chance here. And I give you a bad culture example. So we tried to approach it this way. So I was actually working as a team lead for a web development team in a former job, and another team was working on embedded software. The web software had to work together with the embedded software, so one day I discovered a bug in the embedded software. So I raised an issue, and it came back actually after 24 hours, so it was very, very fast return time. So it came back with won't fix. I said, what the? Why don't you fix it? It's obvious, it's a bug. So what I did is actually I talked to my manager, talked to the embedded team manager, they talked to that team. We had a meeting after 1 week. We sat together, discussed things. And then they said, okay, it's not really a bug, but yeah, we fix it for you. And then 2 months later, I had it fixed. And I could go on with my web software project that I needed to have that fixed. Well, I don't say per se this is a bad culture, but it shows that something is wrong here. I mean, I could have fixed that bug immediately in the embedded code base when I would have access to it. So something is really wrong here. But why are companies actually doing that, having that kind of things? I think we can blame him here. It's his fault. Frederick Winslow Taylor, famous for his Taylorism. Beginning of last century, he said he invented the assembly line. So he said we need efficient workers at the assembly line that just putting stuff together so they can't do anything wrong. So these efficient workers were coming to work at maybe, I don't know, at that time, 7 or something, left again at 6, or I don't know. But they came to work and weren't supposed to think. Actually, Henry Ford once said, I don't want my workers to think. They should just do very efficiently, do the stuff, repetitive, and do it the whole day. Said that is, at that time, we maybe needed that. I mean, we need to know, actually, how much output we have at the end of the assembly line. But we also needed people at that time that put together the assembly line, that made the assembly line very efficient. So what they did, they invented these guys here. The managers start thinking, yeah. So these guys were supposed to think for the assembly line workers. And at that time, I think that was okay, that was fine for that problem. But we tend to have that still in companies. We tend to have that the managers start thinking for us and we're just doing the stuff that the managers want us to do. But actually, times have changed because actually the work has changed. We as developers, we are creative. We use our brains. We want to create stuff. So that doesn't really work anymore. And also people have changed. I mean, I just don't want to go to work at 7 and leave again at 5 and just do stuff. I want to have my own ideas come to life. I want to have my creative time and see actually when I create something, get it out in the hand of the customers and see how happy they are with my software. So companies actually, I think we can see a change, but it's a slow change. They change slowly. So sum this up is actually in the past we're a little bit working like Fred Flintstone, you know. Horn blows at 5 p.m., yabba dabba doo, down the dinosaurs, home to Wilma. Now we are a little bit more like the Incredibles. There's something important, yeah, we work on that. We want to get this done. We know that the customer is waiting for that. We want to get this done, and maybe we work 2 hours more, 3 hours more a day. But then we know, okay, next week we can take 3 days off because we work very hard to get this done. My name is Sven, obviously. I work for Atlassian as an evangelist, so I travel around, speak at conferences, and talk to customers and bring all the ideas and feedback back to our developers, and vice versa. I tell customers what they can do with our products, so that's my job. And I'm happy that I work for Atlassian, and I think we have a good culture. So let's talk about culture. Culture of innovation, innovative culture. I think innovation is really important. It's the main driver, actually. And companies want innovation because it goes like this. Innovate or die. You have to put innovation into your product, otherwise your competitor will overtake you. And in 2-3 years, they come up with a great innovative idea, and your software will be legacy, and everyone wants to use maybe the new shiny software. So, and companies know that, actually, that innovation is really important. So what are they doing? They say, hey, guys, go and innovate. do some innovation, be creative, great. And that's it. And then you work normally on your sprint goals, never have time for innovation. It goes like this. But how do companies motivate us to come up with creative, great ideas? Well, so some companies are doing stuff like this. We give you $500 if you submit your innovative idea. And you submit this innovative idea, and then the innovation committee in your company is looking at that and says, yeah, innovative or not innovative. We pay for this idea or not. And then maybe you have an innovative idea, and they put it on a shelf or somewhere and forget about it. So actually, it's very easy for us, for organizations to drive this innovation. It's very easy. It's just give us time. Give people time to try out their innovative ideas. People have these ideas. We just have to give them some time to work on it and see if it's really worth working more on it, and if it's really something that makes a difference in the product. So a lot of companies are doing stuff like this, a hack day. So where people come together, hack for, I don't know, 8 or 24 or whatever, 2 days or something, 24 hours or 2 days, and do them regularly. So people know that actually there will be a hack day in 2-3 months, so I write down my innovative idea and can try it out. So how does that work normally? So you start with brainstorming before the hack day, have some great ideas, forming teams maybe around ideas, or work on your other idea, on your individual, on your idea that you have, or you write down customer ideas and work on those. And then the hack day starts, 24 hours hackathon. You go and hack for those time. And at the end, I think what's very important with these days is we have to show our innovative ideas, because that's where you get really rewarded for what you did in the 24 hours or in the 2 days of the hackathon, where we really show our innovative idea to the whole company. And everyone is clapping, and it feels good. And what we do is actually we will also vote for the winner. So we have a winner at the end of the hackathon that has the brightest idea or the best idea and stuff like that. But it turns out that I wrote down the whole company but not everyone can actually write code. So it's more like an innovation day. So invite the whole company to do that. Actually, what we did, actually, some team at Atlassian, they wanted to have an intimate place where they can go and discuss things. So what they did is actually they built a hidden whiskey bar during an innovation day. So you can go in and you can actually book that bar for having a meeting, and you don't have to drink whiskey. You can also have some soft drinks or something. It's also there. But having a meeting there. So that's what they built actually in 24 hours. They cut out all these books, these old C++ books or whatever, just SQL books, and put it on a bookshelf. So if you're once in Sydney and visit the office, ask for the hidden whiskey bar. But back to software development. What we get out of these innovation days is normally something like a working prototype, something that you forked the code base and it's not ready for the product, but it's a working prototype that you can show off. But more importantly, I think, what you get out is happy developers. I mean, that's the reason why I became a developer, because I wanted to create great stuff. So happy developers and prototypes. But how do you now work on these prototypes if you think this is a good idea, but your product manager thinks, yeah, but we have other priorities. But you really think this is a good idea? Do regular innovation weeks, where really the whole team takes time off for 1 week and work on their own idea and make that really ready for the product. So this is 1 week. You set your sprint goals also for your innovation weeks. Then it's ideas for the product and doing them regularly. Actually, what Amazon does is they encourage people to work on their own ideas, and they give away this worn out shoe. And people are very proud of having this shoe. So they call it the Just Do It Award. That's why it's a Nike shoe. And actually, they give it out, and people are very proud to have this, and they give it out, I think, every 3 months. They hand it out to someone else that really worked on something that is very innovative and that hasn't been expected by the product managers. And this way, actually, if you drive this innovation, this is really innovation for the masses. It's innovation for everyone in the company. You don't have any innovation team or innovation manager that drives this innovation, because ideas can happen to anyone at any time. Everyone in the company can have good ideas. Pretty important to involve everyone in this innovation finding or creativity phase, because innovation happened. We just have to give them the possibility to grow these innovation, these ideas. All right, let's talk a little bit about happiness. What are organizations doing to make us happy? Well, for one, they organize these events, the summer parties or family and friends days, or you're doing maybe some team building stuff where you go river rafting or mountain climbing or something, where you learn a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of the team members, maybe something that you learn how you can actually trust people in stressful situations that can react very fast. Or maybe you learn also that people have to think things more through. Maybe some people are more like this. They have to think a little bit more until they come up with a great solution. So you learn this, and you can use that later in your teamwork. And yeah, when you do coding, or you do end of fiscal year parties. That's what we do, where we form actually teams around. So we form teams from different parts of the company that has to fulfill some tasks, and then we have fun together. So you learn some other people from other parts of the company. You learn to work with some marketing people or some legal people, and come together. Well, fun with coworkers. This is really something about building relationships outside of your team, and then you have maybe these team building events where you learn about the strengths and weaknesses of your team members. But these happen just once a year, maybe twice a year. So what are we doing on a weekly basis? We do sprints. We are sprinting. And at the end of the sprint, what are we doing? A retrospective. So we look back. What went good? What didn't went good? What should we improve? And then, after that, we go on to the next sprint, and then on to the next sprint. And I hate that. I mean, I hate the word sprint because it sounds like we are just running all the time, but also that we're just improving all the time, and we say, what went wrong? What didn't went wrong? And we're improving and improving and improving. We tend to forget to look back what we really achieved. Actually, my favorite movie is from the 80s. It's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Ferris says a very important sentence here. He says, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And that's so true. Why don't we just stop and look around once in a while what we have achieved? What have we done? Stop and celebrate your team wins. So if you build a great feature, and you just ship that great feature, great. Organize a release party. Go out and party and say, yeah, this is really great. Look back and say, this is awesome. This is cool what we just achieved here. Or do a team offsite. Take the team out for one day and really celebrate together. Or if you don't get support from your management, maybe it's also possible to just say, I invite the stakeholders, I bake a cake, and we were just sitting together for 2 hours and talk about the awesome release that we just did. So sad that is, we as software developers are very privileged. I mean, we really create stuff. Not every team can say that in the organization. For example, our service team, what can they celebrate? Yeah, 500 support cases, yoo-hoo! Next week, 600 support cases, yeah, we improved. Well, so our service team came actually up to, okay, we write down our service team values. This is really something important for us. But over time, so they printed on a poster, and over time, these values become a little bit blurry. You see that and say, make the customer awesome, great, next support case, answering, no. So they really struggled. They really struggled with that. So what they did is actually, I mean, they have those values, and this is pretty important for them. And what they did is actually, they also stopped and celebrate their cultural rock stars. So every 2 weeks, they come together, and then they celebrate people that went over and beyond, did something awesome, stood up for the values, for the cultural values that they have. And they may write a poem for someone, they write a rap song, or they just take the guitar and start singing. So, how do you think Rick and Jeff felt afterwards? They felt great, really. I mean, that's really, they got appreciated for what they did. So, stop and celebrate the small and the big wins. That actually makes us happier. But more importantly, it helps us also to focus what's really important for us as a team, as an organization. All right. So how happy are you? You're probably quite happy. I mean, you spent just 2 days here at JFocus, had a great party last night, and learned a lot of stuff. So you're probably happy. How about your team? Do you know how happy your team is actually? Maybe not. So how do organizations find out how happy the team is or their employees are? They do stuff like this here. Fill out the survey, and then we know how happy you are and what you should improve. Well, said that is the sucks, and it's also slow feedback. I mean, if you do that once a year, you can be 10 months unhappy without your manager noticing it. But well, maybe it shouldn't happen that way. But anyway, you know what I mean. So try to be more frequently in getting feedback about how happy your colleagues are or your team members are. There are some solutions where you have apps where you can ask something and just do push notifications. What we did is actually we had this app here where we had an iPad, or we have an iPad at every exit at the office, and you start learning about how happy people are, and then you can measure. So every time you leave the office, you say, "Oh, I'm happy today," or "I'm not so happy today," and you can measure how you're feeling. And if happiness decreases, you have to do something, actually. You have to look at it, you have to talk to people and stuff like that. And then also adopt the questions that it's not boring for people. You can ask some questions. Does your manager know what you like and what you don't like? And then just test them, make a survey about the management. Or you ask something like the last company party, how you're feeling today, and most people are not feeling that, are happy but not feeling that good. So it's an open source app. You can download that from that URL. All right. But Atlassian is not the only company that is doing that. Actually, a Swedish company here from Stockholm is doing that too. And this is Spotify. And Spotify asked their employees, how happy are you? So they actually found out that 91% of their employees are happy. Wow, great number, good, let's go on. Nah. What's with the rest 9%? Why are they unhappy? So they talked to the unhappy people and found out that there was some easy to fix stuff. So, and then they asked again, and then they made 94% of the employees happy. Where you still have 6%, but you can't make everyone happy. But anyway, you know why these 6% are unhappy. So, culture of happiness. Let's talk a little bit of balancing our passion. So, first, why do we actually code? I can say that for myself, why I like to code is because creating great software, creating great stuff, that makes me personally happy. So what are the ingredients for creating great software? So we are in Sweden, so let's ask this Swedish chef here. What do we need? What are the ingredients for creating great software? So first, give me great tools. Give me great tools and open source, commercial, I don't care, but give me great tools that I really need to create great software. I need support from the management. If I have to say to the management, I have to push the deadline 2 weeks out, I want to have support and that they support me and say, okay, if you say really you have to push the deadline, we believe you that this is really important. And not say, okay, we have to release 2 weeks earlier. We're talking about culture here, so a great culture of respect and trusting each other, that's also important for creating great software. And of course, I need something like the Swedish chef here, a passionate and talented developers. So give me that, and I create you great software. Really? So why do we code? Because coding, creating stuff makes us happy. There was an important ingredient missing. Who do we create the software for? We create the software for the customers. So we make the customers happy, and if the customer's happy, I'm happy too as a programmer. And we tend to forget, in our daily discussions, we tend to forget to talk about the customer. You might say, yeah, we talk about the users all the time. We have these user stories here. For example, this one here. As a user, I want a new event button so that I can add events. That user story sucks totally, really, because it doesn't say anything. You don't relate to it. It doesn't really relate me to the customer, what the customer wants to do. So use personas to represent your customers and tell stories. Do storytelling. So instead of, as a user, I want a new event button, say, as Emma. Emma's a customer. I want to plan a training event so that my team run effectively. Well, maybe you should put a little bit more in the story, but things like that. So personas. So this is Emma. Emma is a persona that we use, and we write down everything we know about Emma. So this is our customer. And then we get a little bit background information about Emma. We put this on paper and print it out and put it everywhere in the office. So people got reminded who we built the software for. For Emma, we're doing this. We're doing this for Emma. This is our persona. And then we put that, as I said, everywhere. Now when I say everywhere, I mean literally everywhere. So you can't really escape from the personas. But said that is that Emma is not our only persona that we have, of course not. So Emma is a persona that represents a person that is just starting with our products, and then we have also William, which is a long-term administrator of the product. So they have different needs, and we have to think about also about William here. So we put everything we know on these persona cards also. And then we put on questions on the backside that we ask during feature discovery phase, and you can place in some cards during the feature discovering phase. So these are some example personas. And then we actually argue with these personas. We take them really with us and say, hey, but no, William will use this feature like that. And then we draw the customer journey. We draw that on big boards. And also people that haven't really taken part of this feature discovery phase, they can go in and make comments on that, because these are big boards. You can go there and make comments on this one. But what I wanted to say is actually that you should be passionate about your users and try to understand what they need. So be passionate about your software. Be very passionate about it. I mean, we're spending 8 hours a day at work and trying to improve the software for our customers, for our users. So better be passionate about that. And if you do that, if you're passionate about your software, your product will look a little bit like this here. Wow, shiny, great, everything looks so great. This is your product. And your customer says to you, we love your product. It's so good. There's just this one little thing that you maybe can fix. And I said, okay, good. Let me open the IDE, and I fixed the code immediately, and your code looks like this. Boom. maybe your product looks shiny, but I mean, your code won't be very maintainable for long term, so your customers won't be happy for long term. Because, I mean, we are engineers. We should have engineering values. We have values too. So, for example, if you see code like this, and I've seen that actually in every code base, maybe not that obvious, it's a Boolean, you give it a Boolean, returns a... I mean, really, have a value that says, don't write crappy code. Don't write crappy code. And if people come to you and says, hey, can you fix this little thing here in one day? And said, normally it takes 1 week. Oh, come on, I know you can do that in 1 day. Say no. Say no if you know these will harm the code and we will never have time to clean it up afterwards. Because the value is, don't write crappy code. Okay, another thing, some other code here. Well, it's a names array, and you iterate over it, and then you look at the zip file if the name is in the zip file. I think the code is okay. It's maybe, you could improve it, but I think it's fine as it is. If you use Java 8, you should use the streams. I mean, really. So always try and find a better solution. That's another engineering value. Always try that we have. Always try and find better solutions. So I know that people from Brazil here are in the room. They left? That's good. Then I can show the next slide. This really happened. I mean, I enjoyed this slide. I'm from Germany, sorry. But it's not important. The result is not important here. Maybe it is. Oh, well, anyway, so what I wanted to point it out here, that the scorers, they didn't fit on the scoreboard. Maybe a scroll bar is a solution, but maybe not good for television. So always try and find better ways, another engineering value. And you probably have people in your team that are passionate and that always try and find the best way, and they love the discussion around, well, we have to migrate to Maven 3 because it's better. So let's use next sprint, and you say, well, we have to work on our product, and say, yeah, and you have these long discussions with these people. You probably know them, and I call them the prima donnas. They're running around, and I mean, don't get me wrong, these are very passionate people with a lot of technical knowledge and stuff like that, but they love the discussion. They love to discuss. So if you have discussions with a prima donna on code reviews or whatever, and going forth and back and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, you have to say that, turn your passion into the product. That's another engineering value. Please find your own engineering values that drives your engineering culture. These are just examples that from what we discovered is important for us. We have some more. But the important thing is, I think, that you should write them down so you can refer to them. So if you have once a long discussion with a prima donna, you can say, look at that here. Turn the passion into the product now. Come on, stop the discussion and let's get started. Or if somebody comes to you and says, hey, you can do that in 1 day, said, hey, now, don't write crappy code. This is another very important value for us. So balance your passion, that's what I mean. You have your engineering values, your code on one side and the customer on the other side, and you have constantly to balance that. Let's talk a little bit about being one team. 12 seems to be a natural team size. I don't say that it's a good size for teams, programming teams, but we were around 12 people back in the Stone Age when we were hunting the mammoth. So that's a good team size. And I say maybe a developer team size should be around 6 to 8, can be a little bit less, but that's an okay developer team size. And then our development team is made of developers, so we understand each other. We laugh about the same jokes. We can have discussions around the code. That's great. But then some people came on this crazy idea to create this cross-functional teams and put designers into our teams. Or even worse, product managers. They don't speak our language. So I have to work together with a product manager once, and he was great in throwing it this one-liners. So the product manager wanted to show their knowledge to the developers, and he says, hey, come on, I know you can do that. Isn't it just loops and was? Come on, guys. Or they want to actually show their empathy with us developers. So he came and says, yeah, I mean, I used to code. I know what you're talking about. I mean, I had my own web page and did some JavaScript editing, and it worked great. So I know what you're talking about. Other thing, maybe they came to me and said, hey, he wanted to motivate me by challenging me. I said, yeah, that takes a long time. And he said, well, I thought we had the world's best engineering team here. Come on. Or, I've seen Google do it. Why can't we do it? Or, actually, they never wanted to show their weak spots, so I had a long discussion with this program product manager, and I said, oh, we can make that better and better. And I saw him losing contact with me, and I keep on talking and said, this is better and this is better. So he didn't want to show that he didn't understand what I was talking about. So he said, hey, okay, let's do that in phase 2, knowing that phase 2 will never happen. Okay, I thought about this product manager like this, I mean, the evil person. But we have to work together, especially in this cross-functional teams. We have to work together with a product manager to create a great product. So if you have people like that in your team, just go and have a beer together, or maybe not a beer, but maybe also a coffee, whatever. I mean, or even better, have lunch together. It's very important to build relationships. Build relationships so you understand each other better. Okay, let's talk a little bit about more numbers here. 6 to 8. 6 to 8, I said, that's a good team size, maybe less. Let's go, 150. Anyone here, 150? 150 is around Dunbar's number. It's between 120 or 180. And Dunbar's numbers tells us how many stable relationships we can maintain. So if organizations grow above this 150 number, we create silos. Oops, here you go. Silos. We are the cool guys, the cool people, the cool developers, and then the other people there, the marketing people. Yeah, but it's pretty important that we understand each other. So if you maybe are a developer and you want to use this open source library, and you go to your legal team and says, hey, can we use this license? And the legal team says, nope, you're not allowed to use this open source license. And you as a developer say, but you have to understand me. I mean, really, it saves us a lot of time to use this library, so please have another look. And the legal team says, nope. Well, we have to bring those people together. I mean, if you think about the legal person, a person like this, an anonymous person, I hate this guy. He wouldn't allow me to use my open source library. But if your legal person looks like this, say, he's actually, maybe he's a nice guy, he's smiling, and maybe I just go over and have a conversation with him. Try to make relationships. So what we do is actually everyone that starts has to write an introductory blog post. So this is Benjamin here. He introduces himself through an introductory blog post. He shares some private stuff, what he's doing, playing guitar. And then you can start a conversation with Benjamin saying, hey, welcome, or whatever. Or, hey, I saw you like to play some soccer, so we're meeting every Thursday for playing soccer together, so come and join us. HubSpot has done this face wall. It's an open source project, so you can download that, where they have in the hallway they have monitors and showing employees and showing in which department they're working. So you can really build relationships or see people, and that makes a company much more transparent. And transparency is really important. I mean, share everything that you have. Share your wins, share your fails, share your decisions, your questions that you have. For example, wins here. Our design team has won this design award, so they shared that with the whole company. There were a blog post, and everyone's reading that. Or somebody had asked a question. Hey, why 20? We're doing 20% time, so he asked why 20% time is broken. But at the same time, he's asking, hey, how can we fix that again? So it makes fun. It's good to work on 20% time again. It makes fun to work on 20% time again. Or if you have a question, like, can someone explain why try-catch classes are not lazy loaded? And people can answer on that directly. So make your organization very transparent, because this transparency brings really people together. And this is the important thing. And also, if you're transparent, and me as a remote worker, I can say that it helps actually to spread the culture through the whole organization. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is scaling your culture or your teams. So as I said, cross-functional teams, designer, but it's not like the designer belongs to a team. If the designer is needed somewhere else, he or she can go to another team and help out with design there. Please have developer with design skills, so they can go and add a new button without having a designer involved in that. And then maybe you need a designer again, so you can reconnect to the designer and say, hey, can you come over for 1 day or 2 days into our team? But then you have to split teams when you work on one product and your product grows. You have to split your teams up, and some organizations are doing these experts teams, these front-end team, the performance team, and the back-end team, and splitting up like these experts. I think this is not a good idea. So maybe you should split your teams up like, okay, have a theme for each team. So one team cares about simplifying your application, another team cares about enterprise customers, and another team cares about making a good first impression of your product, so your product get better adopted. So this is how we slice and dice our teams. And then make these teams autonomous. Maybe one team uses a tool for that, and the other team doesn't use a tool for that at all. Or one team likes to do daily meetings, and the other team just says, it's okay when we just meet whenever it's necessary. Have autonomous teams. But, I mean, you are autonomous, but sometimes you need also support from another team. You need someone who has written that code, so you can go in and say, hey, we need some support here from your team. So you go to the team lead and says, hey, can we get support from your team? And your team lead is a cool guy and says, yeah, okay, good. But you have to wait 2 sprints. We have different priorities at the moment, and you can't go on. So just 3 words for that. Just do it. Just start and change code and just try to do it. And I call this a duocracy. And a duocracy is actually built on autonomy on one side and trusting that people don't make things worse on the other side. So autonomy and trust. But said that, if you're really growing a lot, then maybe this is a little bit risky. If teams are that autonomous and just going in that direction, and this team is going in that direction, we have to get this also a little bit together. But instead of having a big process where ideas have to go through, just add transparency to the mix. That helps you scale that way. So if you have a good idea, or if your team wants to work on something, share that with other teams. So for example here, that's some requirements that somebody wrote up for Confluence, and he wrote everything up there, the product manager, and then shared it with all other teams. And you see all the comments that are coming in and discussions that are happening and says, hey, for enterprise teams, I would add this. And also people that had nothing to do with development, actually. They commented on that. Okay, now your idea becomes a team, a whole organization idea. It's very transparent. You shared that. Now you're going to write some code. So you have to change other people's code. Even though we know we have collective code ownership, so there is no such thing that other people's code, but then you change it. So how do we make sure that we don't do anything stupid in that code base? Well, we should do code reviews. But who are actually the best people to be the reviewer, to check the code? Well, so what we did was we've written an add-on for Bitbucket Server where you can, which is called auto-suggest reviewers. And these add-on just suggests reviewers based on if the people have frequently changed the file or if they are the original author. So these are really the expert for that specific code that you just changed, and that are the best people to review your code. Okay, code is done, code is written, now our feature is ready. So what you do then is a state of the development demos and share that also. Be transparent. These demos are regular, happen regularly, weekly. Every team makes that weekly. They are open, so everyone can join that are interested in that. And you get honest feedback. So if you see a team struggling, somebody gets up their hand and says, hey, we had the same problem, so we sent you 2 people from our team to your team to get that fixed. So stuff like this, this bureaucracy. So this transparency gives us a lightweight control, not a big process that we have that you have to tick the boxes. It's a lightweight control for your organization. And this bureaucracy helps us also to scale and keeping our development speed, by keeping our development speed. Of course, if you add more teams, you slow it down because there's more collaboration and people have to discuss more, but it helps us to build these autonomous teams, this bureaucracy, to scale and try to keep the development speed. All right, 45 minutes in, and I've talked a lot of stuff about culture here. I mean, I've talked about transparency, autonomy and trust, balancing your passion, be one team, and have the customer in mind. These are the things that I just talked about for the last 45 minutes. And you might still think, Sven, I have still no idea what culture is. It's still fluffy for me, and it's alive. Your culture changes over time. New people come, change the culture. It's a very alive thing. But what you want to keep is actually these things. You think these things are very important for us. So instead of saying transparency, autonomy, and trust, give those sticky names so people can really remember that. So instead of transparency, say open company, no bullshit, for example. Or autonomy and trust, be the change you seek. Play as a team, build with heart and balance, and don't fuck the customer. And these are actually, it's not our culture, these are actually our values that guides our culture. It gives our culture more stability, actually, that it don't go into the wrong direction, that we don't want to let it go. And these values are pretty important. And if you give it the sticky names, people will remember that. And it comes up in discussions and says, hey, we have this value, don't fuck the customer, and this will definitely do it. So don't do it. And values gives your culture much more stability. All right. Like every good presentation, it ends with one more thing. So I got one more thing here. And it's actually about Apple. So Steve Jobs announced Ping a few years ago. And Ping, great. They built into iTunes, social network for music. Awesome. Where's Ping now? It's gone. It's not there anymore. They removed it again. And the team that has worked on Ping, I believe still is at Apple, but doing something maybe for Apple Music. They build the next great thing. So what I wanted to say here is that we talk about products day in, day out, trying to improve those, make those better. But really, products come and go. Maybe your product, you don't need that anymore in 2 years, and you have to work on something else. So all this discussion is gone. So products come and go, but work on your culture, because your culture will stay at the end. Thank you very much.